we actually figured what better time to have a podcast episode on opportunities to get ahead and beat the market, whether it's investing, buying for yourself, or something else. Just different ways. If you're getting frustrated and you're a buyer in the market, if you're a real estate agent and you're trying to think of different ways to help your clients outside of just missing multiple offers, again, check out that previous episode that we had on subject free offers if you're wondering about some opportunities and things to think of there. But hey, listen, we're going to talk about ways to beat the real estate market when it's hot like this. And it's not going to work for everybody, but there's definitely some options there. And I think that you guys are going to really enjoy this episode. I hope you guys enjoy every single episode. So before we get into the episode today, we have to do what we love to do so much, which is to thank our amazing listeners for their 5-star reviews. Guys, if you haven't already checked out, we have an Instagram page for the podcast now, at YVR Remo Show on Instagram. Of course, you've got our company page at Thrive Mortgage Co. And we're pumping out tons of great content there. So check that out. In the meantime, the lovely Crystal Lillian, thank you, Crystal, says, I love listening to this podcast on my commute to work. I've learned so much about real estate. I appreciate their expertise, and I feel more confident to pursue real estate investments. Thanks, guys. Crystal, we've got a beautiful Thrive mug coming your way, so please send us your address and let us know. And guys, if you leave us a 5-star review, we do this every single week. As often as we can, we're giving away a Thrive mug along with some delicious coffee, just to say thank you so much for listening. Hey, again, guys, if you're loving the show, that's all we ask for. Leave the review, share it, send us a message, and give us some feedback. We'd really appreciate you. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the show. Make it a great day. What's up, guys? You are listening to the YVR Remo Show, where we talk all things Vancouver real estate and mortgages, take boring topics and make them interesting. Make sure to stay tuned to listen to everything you need to know how to put cash back in your pocket, create wealth in real estate, and simplify the complicated. It's been the better part of 6 months of nonstop fire in the real estate market. And I think the difference of right now, what's happening is that it's spreading like wildfire to every market and every different region of not just BC, but other parts of Canada, which is super interesting. So we're going to come on and just really talk about how some opportunities to beat the market. There's a lot of buyer fatigue right now in the real estate space. And whether it's an investor, a first-time buyer, a move-up, or a move-down, like everybody is having this fatigue. And these conversations that I'm having with real estate agents on a daily basis, it's almost, I want to say people are kind of dropping like flies or just stressed out. And so we want to give back some hope to the market, not only to those people that are shopping for resale properties, but just looking at different ways and different opportunities to beat the market, whether it's for what you're actually looking for right now or just different things that you might not have thought about.
Yeah, it's a super challenging market for buyers right now. It's very emotional. Like you said, people are literally throwing the towel in and saying, forget it. Like, I'll come back around this next year, or when the market comes down, right? People have been saying that for years. When the market comes down, when the crash happens, right? So yeah, we just have a couple of really good strategies that we've seen some of our clients actually pursue to try to get around this. And, you know, some people are deciding not to purchase here, but they're looking in other locations that might be a little bit of a different playing field.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we've been hearing this since middle of May. Like, it's too crazy, I can't get in. And we're now in February, and it's even crazier. So yeah, it's just you gotta really find what's gonna fit for you and your lifestyle, and then look at these opportunities that we're gonna go through today. And you know, if one of these can work for you, I highly recommend asking more detailed questions about these opportunities, and we're happy to share further details on all of this stuff.
There's no better time to buy real estate than now, or when you're ready. We always hear that famous saying, the best time to buy a real estate was 5 years ago. Well, it couldn't be any more true than now. And I don't think the market and what's happening right now is going to change that. In 5, 7, 10 years, chances of anyone regretting buying the real estate they're considering right now from a price perspective is minimal at best. Again, as long as it makes sense for your budget, it's going to always make sense, at least in most markets in BC. Other markets of Canada we have to talk about independently, but if you have the right strategy, I think it makes a lot of sense. So like, why don't we just quickly touch on, why is this still happening? I think we've had this conversation now again since May of last year. We were on webinars, we were telling clients, we were calling people saying, let's talk about getting that, mortgage prepared. Let's get that pre-approval in place. And I don't know about you guys, but I had the same feedback all the time. Oh, I want to see what the market does. I want to see what's going on, or rates might come back up, or a variety of different things. And yeah, well, none of those things have happened other than the market going up and less people realistically wanting to sell. So why do you think this is happening over and above the obvious, guys?
The obvious is right now is there's just not a lot of inventory. That everyone wants the same thing, it appears, and that seems to be the single family home with a basement suite. And so there's just not a lot of inventory for that. And when you have 100 people looking at one property in the Langley area as an example, and only one person wins that offer, well, we have now another 99 people looking for that same product the very next day. And that's such a micro example of what's going on. There's just not, the inventory just doesn't exist right now.
Yeah, low inventory. I know it's been starting to pick up in the Langley area. You're starting to see more people listing, and I think a lot of people are realizing what's happening. And maybe someone that's been sitting on the fence, they're realizing maybe they can cash out, make that retirement move to the Okanagan or the island or whatever it might be. But another couple factors that play in is, we've talked about these a few times, but people can work remote, right? So people are moving away from the city. I know everyone talks about that. It is a real thing. People are actually moving away from the city, whether it's Langley or Chilliwack or the Okanagan or the island. That is happening. Interest rates obviously are a big part of this, right? It's a pretty huge part of it. And I think just a lot of people were on the fence. A lot of people were skeptical of the market when the pandemic hit. No one knew what was going to happen. Everyone was going to kind of watch and see, is the market going to tank? And then when it starts going up, you get all these people that were on the fence and they're like, well, I guess now's the time. Like, I need to make this move, right? Because I'm getting priced out. And then you get all these people that were kind of looky-loos for 6 months that are like, I need to do this now. So it's a huge wave of buyers. I think a lot of first-time buyers are trying to get in before, it's too late, essentially.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on all the points above. And to make your point, you guys talked about the Fraser Valley here, but this is again, this is across Canada. We just had, as an example, a client. This is where it gets even more interesting. We just had clients purchase a detached home in Ontario, which was listed for $199,000. They bid $125,000 over asking. They bought it for $324,000. So if you think it's crazy to bid $125,000 over asking in the Vancouver region, literally almost double the price of the property is what was offered. So it gets a little bit crazy over there. Additionally, we do a lot of business in the Okanagan, and then of course on the island, and it's the same story all around. So we just discussed low interest rates are going to be a big factor. A lot of people have wanted to upsize. A lot of people are looking to move out. So it's just a lot of the same considerations. So let's get into it. Like, let's start talking about some of the opportunities that people can start to consider if they're overwhelmed by the market, or they need to make a change and they're just not sure about getting into that craziness. I'll kind of lead it off right now because, hey, I'm going to be open with you guys. I personally just purchased another piece of real estate, which I'm super excited about. And I was able to obtain this on what we call an off-market deal, which is a private sale. I came across someone who wanted to let go of their property. We found a fair price at the time. I still think it's probably a fair price, all things considered, and came to an agreement to buy the property. So, and I'm not the first person to do that, but again, having gone through that myself, it was a fantastic experience on my end of the equation, and a perfect opportunity where I didn't have to bid. I got full subjects. The seller is extremely happy. I'm extremely happy. And we were able to make that work.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, off-market opportunities are not, they're not easy to come by, right? Like, you're not going to bump into someone when you're walking down the road and they're going to offer to sell you their home. So talking to people, right? Getting out there, letting people know that you're looking, talk to people in your workplace, talk to your friends, your family. That's how these situations are going to arise. Sometimes real estate agents can come across opportunities as well, right? If you're a pre-approved buyer and your realtor knows exactly what you want and need, they could potentially have a lead to put that together for you. So it's really just getting that out there that you are in fact looking. I mean, I've seen posts on Facebook. Literally people posting like, hey, I'm trying to buy a house for under $1 million in Walnut Grove. Is there anybody out there that has anything, right? Might not come to fruition, but it's definitely worth a conversation.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, like I found searching the Facebook groups, just driving around the areas that you like, you never know who you're going to see, right?
it can be a make sense opportunity for a lot of people to look at making that kind of a situation occur. And again, real estate agents we're talking to are trying desperately to make that happen too. All right, let's move on to second opportunity outside of off market or private transactions. Derek, lead us into it, buddy.
Yeah, so pre-sales, new developments, right? The resale market is wild. That's where, a real estate agent is listing a home and they're saying, okay, we're going to do showings on Saturday and Sunday. We're going to have 100 parties through and we're going to accept offers on Monday by 5. Those are the situations that are causing, the rush and the panic, and you're getting multiple offers and everyone's really thinking like, how high do I have to go, right? 200,000 over asking price to get this home. New development properties, I believe by law, they actually have to offer you a 7-day rescission period. It's essentially a subject period. So you have 7 days to line up your financing. Typically no inspections because it's not built, but you do your due diligence, right? In those 7 days. And after 7 days, you can either decide to proceed or walk away from that offer. So if you don't have a strong enough application to go subject free on a property, that's an awesome way to get into a property because they legally have to give you that 7 days. Another huge factor with the pre-sales is developers typically aren't doing showings and then accepting offers on Monday, right? It's first come, first serve. If you go to that sales center and you find a property and you're able to put a contract together, it's yours, right? And you're usually not going over asking price either. It's usually there's a set price, and if you're willing to pay it, you'll be able to tie out that property. So that's been a huge one. Obviously, it can be fairly limited as well. And in 2016, we were seeing real estate agents having sleepovers outside of sales centers just to get those contracts in place, right? And I think that's been coming back a little bit. So who knows? But if you see any new developments coming up and you're kind of getting pushed out of the current resale market, it could be a good opportunity.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on that 7-day rescission period. If you're we've talked about subject free offers and all that stuff quite extensively lately. But that's a perfect type of product if you are concerned about financing or have any concerns. That's just the most peace of mind product you can go after.
I think there's a huge push by a lot of people in the industry to get a 7-day rescission period for resale as well. I don't think we'll see it, at least not anytime soon, but a fantastic thing. If you are looking to buy a new development property, a few tips there really quickly. First and foremost, make sure you're represented separately by the real estate agent. I personally have had a couple clients who have tried to deal with a sales center, and it's turned into an absolute nightmare with prices changing last minute, people that were difficult to get a hold of. Of course, this is not all the sales centers, but why take a risk on it? You're going to pay the exact same amount working with an agent or not. The difference is you'll have representation. So my feedback is if you want to buy a new development property, and if that's what's in your mindset, reach out directly to us to get a referral to a specialist who knows that market. We will introduce you to someone you can trust, so you're going to get well taken care of. And that's it for that one. So guys, if I can lead off the next one, I'll just jump right into it. Buying out of town. So making the move out of town. We actually did a prior podcast episode on strictly moving out of town. I think we could probably have a second episode on what that looks like. Buying out of town, like to be more specific, what we're talking about is someone essentially relocating and looking at different markets to do their work. Now, this obviously doesn't work in every scenario because, as an example, if someone is leaving the Lower Mainland and they're trying to move to let's say, for example, Kelowna, and look for the exact same product in the exact same locations as a lot of people are looking, you're going to have some of the same challenges. However, if you can start to look at some other cities and other towns or different types of product solutions, or combine it with one of these other options, there is an opportunity for you to have some success. So as an example, recently I've had some families moving up to, believe it or not, Salmon Arm, on the island, trying different places like Port Alberni, going up north to some other spots that are up there as well, and just looking at different types of products, which has been very helpful and very useful. So if you have a remote job and you've ever wanted to just live in this beautiful place, it's more serene, maybe less busy, great opportunity.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on the out of town piece in regards to like, what if you don't have a remote job and you are just getting frustrated with the current market? You probably will jump into another market out of town that would be similar in regards to competitiveness, like multiple offers, that sort of thing. But the price point is going to be a lot lower. So if you're looking in like Calgary opposed to Vancouver, I mean, the price point for a single family home, it's not even comparable. It's not even close to comparable. So, getting frustrated in this market and knowing that you have to live here to work, an alternative option that I've seen quite regularly lately is people buying an investment property in Calgary. Or, that's just my example of a city that I've seen lately, where you can get a great single family home under 600,000 with a basement suite that produces fantastic rental income, like similar rental rates to here, believe it or not. And, that's just the alternative as, okay, I'm happy renting here where I am, but now at least I know my money's going to work for me, and I'm involved in home ownership, right?
Yeah, if you've exhausted all of your options locally and you're getting pushed out of the market and, bang on, I wouldn't recommend anyone just sits on it, right? It's look at other opportunities, investment properties. It's a great way to get into the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Bang the investment drum opportunity. Don't let your money sit. We just started the episode with a conversation about that piece. So let's continue that and talk about a little bit more about just investing and just generally speaking, some thoughts and so forth. One of the biggest mistakes that I've seen year after year after year people making is piggybacking on your previous conversation. And I just so vividly remember a couple in 2016 and their entire family told them, sell your property, wait, the market's going to crash. Their financial planner, and not all financial planners think this way, but I've heard so many that have the same mindset. The market is going to crash. Interest rates are going to come up. We're going to see prices come down. Like, wait. The property that they sold at that time sold for around $440,000. They were advised wait 1 year. We obviously stayed in touch with them, talked to them at this point. That same property, guys, now this is 4.5 years later, is worth over $1 million. And the property they wanted to buy at the time was worth about 600. That property is worth about 1.4. So from an investment piece, stick somebody else in there. Put your money into the market where it makes sense. Look at different regions, different areas. Consider the pre-sale, like we said. Put your money into a deposit or something of that nature, something that you trust and you understand it. If you don't understand it, that's what people like us are here for, is to help you and support you in that vision. I did a consultation this morning with someone who's probably going to listen to this actually, and her family, and it was like, hey, we actually want to get our money into the market and make it work for us. And one of the three parties is going to live in the home, in the new property, and the other two are basically going to put their money in as an investment. So a joint venture opportunity where all three parties win. One has a place to live, and the other two, of course, are part of that journey. So basically just get creative, be open to ideas, look at different strategies, talk to family members. If you're getting a little older, remember, if you have kids, what are you going to do for an inheritance in 30, 40 years? Buying a piece of real estate now could help your kids in the future.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that's a really good point. I've seen a lot of early inheritance money coming from parents, right? Just from that exact reason. Hey, we know this is coming to you at some point. Sitting in the bank doing nothing from that perspective, why not get a head start for their kids, right? So that's a really good point.
That and buying with family, right? You've gotten priced out of your $1 million qualification, and maybe your parents are in a paid off home, but as a group, you guys could essentially buy maybe a $2 million property, and you get your mortgage, and your parents are essentially clear title, right? You're living in a beautiful acreage in Langley or wherever, but it's just another option, right? Keeping your eyes open.
Speaking of all that, acreage and different types of properties, where one thing that people don't really talk about is, again, we led the conversation in the emotional aspect of buying real estate. It is so emotional, and we talk to people all the time. We get it. You're buying a home is where you're going to raise your kids and your family, or move down and live your dreams to retirement, whatever. You got to take a step back and try and remove some of that. It's still an asset for you, right? So one thought here is to start to look for markets that maybe aren't booming. Now, whether this is investment or an owner occupied, open up your mind to different opportunities. We talked about either moving out of town, moving to different things. As an example, in fall of 2020, the condo market in Vancouver, in particular, single unit condos, was really depressed, and they weren't selling for nearly as much as you would like to think. That's an example from a couple months ago, but looking for those types of opportunities that really will start to roar back in 6 to 12 months when the COVID restrictions hopefully subside, is a smart idea. Yeah, maybe not the play today, but you're again, thinking 12 months out. What is that opportunity? Those towns that haven't quite hit yet, but they're down to, they're going to see some increases. That home that needs a whack load of work, talk about some different lending products that will help you with the renovation. Look for places that maybe aren't as appetizing even to you, and put some effort into it. That hard work will pay off.
I was just going to touch on the homes that need a lot of work. most people right now are selling prior to buying, and so they have very restrictive dates that they have to meet. And so buying a home that's not move-in ready is not really a good product for a lot of people right now, just because they don't have the flexibility or just the ability in general to do anything with that property. They need to get their family in. So if you're somebody that has flexibility with dates and being able to, get handy and put some work into a property, that is a fantastic opportunity, and that is definitely something we're seeing as a viable option.
Awesome. Okay, so Derek, I think you can lead the conversation here, but man, I probably received maybe 10, 15 emails in the last 2 or 3 weeks from existing clients and new clients, and also on top of lots of phone calls saying, "Hey, could I build a home? Like, is that even a possibility? What does that look like for me?" What are you saying to that right now?
Yeah, I'm actually helping probably upwards of 10 clients build their next home right now. They're either in motions or actually have started construction. And I mean, in this market, it's, everyone wants resale. Everyone wants an existing home with a suite that they can move into. And I think a lot of people are spinning their wheels so much that they are starting to look into other options like we've been talking about here. And construction is a big one. Construction is a piece that most people they don't understand. How would you know unless you go through the motions or talk to a professional? But a lot of people just think it's completely not achievable, right? And for some people, it won't be. There's typically a more, a bigger cash injection required to build, but it puts you in a different market. Like, there are nowhere near as many people that are looking for a bare lot and to build their next home as there are trying to get into the resale market. So that takes you away from this crazy subject-free, multiple offers, $200,000 over asking price, and gets you into a market where you can actually probably negotiate a decent subject period on a lot where you can build a home that could be your forever home, right? And there's obviously a lot of benefits to building, and there's also flaws in building, right? It's going to take you a year to build your house. It'll take you a full year, so you're probably going to be renting or living with family, which is not always achievable. But there's a lot of benefits. Typically, when you build, you will make money. Now, construction costs have gone through the roof recently. So, but there are definitely still some benefits. If you do it properly, you're typically going to create more equity than you would in a resale purchase. So yeah, I mean, it's case by case. You need to run the numbers. At the end of the day, qualification is the exact same. Whether you're buying or building, you have to qualify for the mortgage that you're using to buy or build your home. So it's definitely a conversation, and it's worth looking into. Typically, minimum down payment's a little bit higher. You're looking at like a bare minimum 25%, sometimes more. So it really comes down to everyone's personal situation, but it's a great opportunity for somebody that might be, fighting a brick wall in this market.
Yeah, especially like we're finding people essentially just settling for what they're not really wanting. Like they wanted the extra bathroom, or they wanted the master, the ensuite, like just these little things that they're just having to settle because of the market. Where when you build, you get to build exactly what you want in most cases. You get all these fine details that are important to you. So that's a big reason why I'm seeing a lot of people build, because they get to do exactly what they want. Also, in regards to down payment requirements, yeah, like Derek's correct. That is a good rule of thumb. But if you are in that minimum down payment window, there could still be an option. So don't think this isn't an option for you. There could still be some opportunity there, and certainly reach out.
Yeah, the only echo I would add to that point, you guys made some fantastic points on all of that, is just like, it definitely is a lot more consultative. It is going to take more time and substantially more work on your plate to do this sort of thing. So just being aware of obviously what that impact will be on your life, but also the benefits of doing so, and making sure to reach. I mean, I talk to people quite frequently, actually. Hey, I talked to my bank about this. It didn't seem like this was an option or a solution. It's the same thing that goes back to any other mortgage advice, guys. You got to talk to a pro. Otherwise, you're going to get some bad advice. So reach out to us. We'll put you in the right direction when we have that conversation. So, I mean, I think those right off the bat. So just to kind of little summary back, some of the things we talked about, looking for off market, possibly private sales, post it out publicly what you're looking for and where you're looking for. You never know about, that guy down the street that could be willing to let go because he likes you guys a lot and he wants to sell the home to a family he cares about. Don't forget, again, emotions matter. New development properties, and having a conversation with us to put you in touch with people who understand that. So many people are just looking at what they see online. Again, it's Google is ads. Like, it's people putting ads in your face. You got to have conversations still. And I think it'll continue to be that way. Buying out of town, again, another thing, we can support you in that vision, but looking at different types of products and solutions, investing your money and getting it back in the market in different capacities, talking to friends, family, pre-sales, and wondering what that would look like, looking for different markets that are not booming, and building a home. These are probably the key things that you can start to consider when it comes to trying to beat the market. I think that's pretty much wrapped up everything that we wanted to touch on today. Is there any other ideas that I've not touched on, guys?
Just one thing, we just looking at potentially changing your lifestyle temporarily. And what I mean by that is if there's any sort of temporary living situation you could have with a family member, like anything you can do to change your lifestyle a little bit just to have more flexibility. I just found dates, if you're flexible on dates, that can actually win you offers, just because the person selling has very restrictive dates to meet, and if you can meet those, that could really win the day for you. So that would be the only other thing I'd point out.
Yeah, and on my side, that's a really good point. On my side, I've actually had a handful of clients that have gone and sold their home, not realizing how challenging it's going to be to find their next home. And they're now in a position where they have 2.5 months to vacate their current property, and they are writing offer after offer after offer, and they're actually writing offers on properties they don't even want to buy. So if you're going to be selling before you buy, like, have a backup, have a rental, have family that you can move in with. A lot of people, and I'll leave it to the real estate agents to speak to this, but if you can actually write and get an accepted offer on a new home, if you're in a good market with your existing home, it's probably going to sell right now very, very quickly, right? You're probably going to sell in 2 days for the price that you want. But always be conservative on that price, right? Like, don't think that your $1 million home is going to sell for 1.3, because if it sells for 1.1 and you don't have enough to close, that can be a challenge. So just be conservative in what you're expecting to get from your house. I know there's a lot of, I don't know, it changes people's mindsets, right? When you hear that the house up the street sold for $300,000 over ask, it doesn't mean it'll happen on your house.
Yeah, especially in an unpredictable market where it is going above, because these agents, believe it or not, most agents, obviously not all, but most agents are actually trying to price a house properly for what they think it would realistically sell for. And anything above that is just a guess at best. And that's what I'm kind of hearing, other than the oddball that's trying to get something ridiculous here. So, man, great summary, great ideas, great things to do or not do. As always, we didn't introduce ourselves this episode, so we'll end it. I'm Alex McFadden, Dean Lawton, and Derek Williamson. We run, own, and operate Thrive Mortgage Co., focusing on helping our clients win with unique opportunities. If you guys have more questions, as you always do, make sure to send us a message so we know that you're enjoying this information. Leave us a review on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram, and we'd love to talk to you.